Good evening, everybody. Hi, welcome to Common Ground Presents Story Time. I'm LG Danelle, if this is your first time watching, and I'm very, very excited for tonight because my theme for tonight is classics. One of the fun things about starting your own family is starting your own traditions. You can pick new favorite books that your children don't remember a time not having memorized. You can, have new holiday traditions, all of that. But one of those special things that you can do is invite traditions into your home that have been part of your family for generations. And I have 3 books that I know that my parents and grandparents have read, and I hope that you like them as much as I do. Our first one is one of my favorites to read as well as to listen to, Fox in Socks. And without further ado, here we go. Let's see how many times I get tongue-tied. Fox in Socks by Dr. Seuss. Starts off simple enough. Fox, socks, box, knocks. I'm just going to blow this out. I don't think the ambiance will be ruined by a lack of candle, but it might be ruined by a fire. Knocks in box, fox in socks. Knocks on box, in socks, in box. Socks on knocks, and knocks in box. Fox in socks, on box, on knocks. Ooh. Chicks with bricks come. Chicks with blocks come. Chicks with bricks and blocks and clocks come. Look, sir, Mr. Knox, sir. Let's do tricks with bricks and blocks, sir. Let's do tricks with chicks and clocks, sir. First, I'll make a quick trick brick stack. Then I'll make a quick trick block stack. You can make a quick trick chick stack, and you can make a quick trick clock stack. And here is a new trick, Mr. Knox. Socks on chicks and chicks on fox. Fox on clocks and bricks and blocks. Bricks and blocks on knocks on box. Now we come to ticks and tocks, sir. Try to say this, Mr. Knox, sir. Clocks on fox tick, clocks on knocks talk. 6 sick bricks tick, 6 sick chicks talk. For our littles in the audience, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please, sir, I don't like this trick, sir. My tongue isn't quick or slick, sir. I get all those ticks and clocks, sir, mixed up with the chicks and talks, sir. I can't do it, Mr. Fox, sir. I'm so sorry, Mr. Knox, sir. He does look sorry. Here's an easy game to play. Here's an easy thing to say. New socks, 2 socks. Whose socks? Sue's socks. Hi, Christina. Hi, Miss Hema. Who sews whose socks? Sue sews Sue's socks. Who sees who sew whose new socks, sir? You see Sue sew Sue's new socks, sir. That's not easy, Mr. Fox, sir. Who comes? Crow comes. Slow Joe Crow comes. Who sews Crow's clothes? Sue sews Crow's clothes. Slow Joe Crow sews whose clothes? Sue's clothes. Sue sews socks of fox and socks now. Slow Joe Crow sews knocks in box now. Sue sews rows on Slow Joe Crow's clothes. Fox sews hose on Slow Joe Crow's nose. Hose goes, rose grows. Nose hose goes some. Crow's rose grows some. Mr. Fox, I hate this game, sir. This game makes my tongue quite lame, sir. Mr. Knox, sir. What a shame, sir. We'll find something new to do now. Here's lots of new blue goo now. New goo, blue goo. Gooey, gooey. Blue goo, new goo. Gluey, gluey. Gooey goo for chewy, chewy. That's what that goo goose is doing. Do you choose to chew goo too, sir? If, sir, you chew. Oh, it got me. If, sir, you, sir, choose to chew, sir. With the goo goose, chew, sir. Do, sir. Mr. Fox, sir, I won't do it. I can't say it. I won't chew it. Very well, sir. Step this way. We'll find another game to play. I love this one. Bim comes. Ben comes. Bim brings Ben broom. Ben brings Bim broom. Ben bends Bim's broom. Bim bends Ben's broom. Bim's bends, Ben's bends. Ben's bent broom breaks. Bim's bent broom breaks. Ben's band, Bim's band, big bands, pig bands. Bim and Ben lead bands with brooms. Ben's band bangs and Bim's band booms. Pig band, boom band, big band, broom band. My poor mouth can't say that, no, sir. My poor mouth is much too slow, sir. Well then, bring your mouth this way. I'll find it something it can say. Luke Luck likes lakes. Luke's duck likes lakes. Luke Luck licks lakes that Luke's duck licks lakes. Okay. Duck takes licks and lakes Luke Luck likes. Luke Luck takes licks and lakes duck likes. Hi, Miss Shannon. I can't blab, says blibber blubber. My tongue isn't made of rummer. Mr. Knox, now, come now, come now. You don't have to be so dumb now. Try to say this, Mr. Knox, please. Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, freezy breeze blew. Freezy breeze made these 3 trees freeze. Freezy trees made these trees cheese freeze. That's what made these 3 free fleas sneeze. Oh, man. My favorite one's coming up, you guys. Stop it, stop it. That's enough, sir. I can't say such silly stuff, sir. Very well, then, Mr. Knox, sir. Let's have a little talk about Tweedle beetles. What do you know about Tweedle beetles? Well, when Tweedle beetles fight, it's called a Tweedle beetle battle. And when they battle in a puddle, it's a Tweedle beetle puddle battle. And when Tweedle beetles battle with paddles in a puddle, they call it a Tweedle beetle puddle paddle battle. And when beetles battle beetles in a puddle paddle battle, and the beetles battle puddle and the beetle battle puddle is a puddle in a bottle, they call this a Tweedle beetle bottle puddle paddle battle muddle. And when beetles fight these battles in a bottle with their paddles, and the bottle's on a poodle, and the poodle's eating noodles, they call this a muddle puddle tweedle poodle beetle noodle bottle paddle battle. And now wait a minute, Mr. Socks Fox. When a fox is in the bottle where the Tweedle beetles battle with their paddles in a puddle on a noodle-eating poodle, this is what they call a Tweedle beetle noodle poodle bottle paddle muddle duddle buddle wobble fox in socks, sir. Fox and socks, our game is done, sir. Thank you for a lot of fun, sir. Now is your tongue numb? Well, I hope not, because we got 2 more stories to go. This one was one of my absolute favorites when I was a kid, and I'm very pleased that it's also one of Juliet's favorites. So I wish she was here to say all the good parts, but I think I can do it. Caps for sale. A Tale of a Peddler, Some Monkeys, and Their Monkey Business. Once, there was a peddler who sold caps. But he was not like an ordinary peddler, carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, he had his own checked cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry. I lost myself. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said. And he walked out of town slowly, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he. And he sat down very slowly under the tree, and he leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel as if they were straight. First his own checked cap. I'm so sorry. Hang on, everybody. Callie girl. Sorry about that, you guys. Then a bunch of gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. They were all there, so he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. But before standing up, he felt his head to make sure his caps were in the right place. All he felt was his own checked cap. He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked to the back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, no caps. Then he looked up into the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey, and on every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking a finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their finger back at him and said, "Tss, tss." That made the peddler angry. He shook both hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, "Tss, tss." Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot and he said, "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back and said, "Tss, tss, tss." By this time, The peddler was really, really, very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." At last, he became so angry, he pulled off his own cap and threw it on the ground. He began to walk away. But then each monkey pulled off his cap. And all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and threw them back on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back into town, calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." The end. All right, for this last one, I'm going to scoot you a little closer. Pretend we like each other. Hi, everybody. All right, so for the last one, I know for a fact that a lot of you have read Beatrix Potter. And I know for a fact that a lot of you may not have just shared them with your parents, but your grandparents and great-grandparents as well. Because the one I'm reading to you, one of my absolute favorites, is The Tale of Jeremy Fisher, and it was published in 1906. That, my friends, is 113 years old. Mr. Jeremy Fisher. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the words and then I'm going to show you the pictures, okay? Because it's a hefty book, but it's a good story. Once upon a time, there was a frog called Mr. Jeremy Fisher. He lived in a little damp house amongst the buttercups at the edge of a pond. The water was all slippy-sloppy in the larder and the back passage. But Mr. Jeremy liked getting his feet wet. Nobody ever scolded him, and he never caught a cold. He was quite pleased when he looked out and saw large drops of rain splashing in the pond. Here he is, quite comfortable in his little house with his little tailcoat and his wet larder and his beautiful pond view. "I'll get some worms and go fishing and catch a dish of minnows for my dinner," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. "If I catch more than 5 fish, I will invite my friends Mr. Alderman Ptolemy Tortoise and Sir Isaac Newton. The alderman, however, eats salad." Mr. Jeremy put on a mackintosh, that's a rain jacket, and a pair of shiny galoshes, those are rain boots. He took his rod and his basket and set off with enormous hops to the place where he kept his boat. The boat was round and green and very much like the other lily pads. It was tied to a water plant in the middle of the pond. So here's our man Jeremy Fisher digging his worms, and then he's getting some stuff ready, and there he goes setting sail on his little lily pad. Mr. Jeremy took a reed pole and pushed the boat out into open water. "I know a good place for minnows," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Mr. Jeremy stuck his pole into the mud and fastened the boat to it. Then he settled himself cross-legged and arranged his fishing tackle. He had the dearest little red float. His rod was a tough stalk of grass. His line was a fine, long, white horsehair. And he tied a little wriggling worm at the end. The rain trickled down his back, and for nearly an hour he stared at the float. "This is getting tiresome. I think I should like some lunch," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. There he is. There he is setting sail. And he's setting himself up for a nice long sit. And there he is, after several hours, feeling ready for lunch. He punted back again amongst the water plants and took some lunch out of his basket. "I will eat a butterfly sandwich and wait until the shower is over," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Looks kind of peaceful, doesn't it? I always thought so. But I don't know how I feel about fly sandwiches. A great big water beetle came up underneath the lily leaf and tweaked the toe of one of his galoshes. Mr. Jeremy crossed his legs up shorter, out of reach, and went on eating his sandwich. Once or twice, something moved about with a rustle and a splash amongst the rushes on the side of the pond. "I trust it's not a rat," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. "I think I'd better get away from here." Mr. Jeremy shoved the boat out again, a little way, and dropped the bait. There was a bite almost directly. The float gave a tremendous bobbit. "A minnow, a minnow, I have a minnow by the nose," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher, jerking up his rod. Here he is, with the water beetle tweaking his little toe and an image of rats swimming toward him. And then he finally got a little nibble. This wasn't as peaceful adventure as he had hoped, huh? But a horrible surprise. Instead of a smooth, fat minnow, Mr. Jeremy landed little Jack Sharp, the stickleback, covered in spines. The stickleback floundered about on the boat, pricking and snapping until he was quite out of breath. Then he jumped back into the water. I'll show you that a little early. There he is. He caught the horrible little stickleback fish, and it stabbed him all in his fingers before it went back in. And there he is, sucking on his hands. Poor thing. He got stabbed in the fingers a bunch of times. And a shoal of other little fishes put their heads out and laughed at Mr. Jeremy Fisher. And while Mr. Jeremy sat disconsolately at the edge of his boat, sucking his sore fingers and peering into the water, a much worse thing happened. A really frightful thing it would have been if Mr. Jeremy had not been wearing a Macintosh. What do we see? There he is, sucking his fingers, when underneath a giant, horrible, a great, big, enormous trout came up and kerfluck with a splash. Oh my goodness, he has Mr. Jeremy Fisher in his mouth. And it seized Mr. Jeremy with a snap. Ow, ow, ow! Then it turned and dived down to the bottom of the pond. But the trout was so displeased with the taste of the Macintosh that in less than half a minute, it spat him out again. And the only thing it swallowed was Mr. Jeremy's galoshes. It's worth losing your rain boots not to get swallowed by a giant fish, huh? Whew. That part used to scare me to death as a kid. Ugh. Mr. Jeremy bounced up to the surface of the water like a cork in the bubbles out of a soda water bottle, and he swam with all his might to the edge of the pond. He scrambled out on the first bank he came to, and he hopped home across the meadow with his Macintosh all in tatters. "What a mercy was not a pike," said Mr. Jeremy Fisher. "I have lost my rod and my basket, but it does not much matter, for I am sure I should never have dared to go fishing again." Here he is, surfacing, thank goodness. He's climbing out with his little raincoat all in tatters, and he's hopping home as fast as he can after a terrible misadventure. He put some sticking plaster on his fingers, and his friends both came to dinner. He could not offer them fish, but he had something else in his larder. Sir Isaac Newton wore his black and gold waistcoat, and Mr. Alderman Ptolemy Tortoise brought a bag of salad with him in a string bag. Those are some good friends. Look how smart Mr. Isaac Newton looks in his coat. And there's his friend Ptolemy Tortoise. And instead of a nice dish of minnows, they had a roasted grasshopper with ladybird sauce, which frogs consider a beautiful treat. But I think it must have been nasty. The end. Well, guys, that's it for story time. I hope you enjoyed these beautiful classics as much as I did, and I hope that you'll join us next Monday. We have a new Storytime page, and we'll be broadcasting from both for a little while, but we're going to move most of our Storytime videos to that page. I'm just letting you know for now. And we'll see you next week. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in every week. Good night.